Has a game ever made you feel like you were the only person left in the world? Not in a scary way, but in that quiet, peaceful kind of way. When the world around you feels frozen in time, and it's just you, your thoughts, and the faint hum of a digital wind. That's the strange beauty of loneliness in video games. It's not something you seek, but sometimes it finds you. There's this moment in Journey where you're gliding across an endless desert. There's no dialogue, no instructions, no map. Just golden sand, wind, and music that feels like it's whispering secrets. You might come across another player, silent like you, only able to communicate through little chirps of light. You travel together for a while, wordlessly helping each other climb dunes and survive the cold, and then, suddenly, they're gone. No goodbye, no name, just gone. You continue walking alone, and somehow, that absence feels heavier than any boss fight or cutscene ever could. That's the kind of loneliness that games can create, one that doesn't feel empty, but human. It's not just about being without company. It's about the moments in between, the pauses, the stillness, the echoes of something that used to be there. We usually think of games as social experiences, you and your friends yelling at each other in Overwatch, celebrating a win in Fortnite, or building something together in Minecraft. But when a game slows down and takes everything away from you, the noise, the people, the chaos, that's when you start to feel something deeper. Stranding is one of the most haunting examples of that. You play as Sam Porter, a delivery man wandering across a desolate America, where the last remnants of humanity are scattered in bunkers. Most of the time, you're completely alone, walking through valleys and over mountains, the only sounds being the crunch of your boots and the wind cutting through the cliffs. You deliver supplies to people you never meet in person. You just see their holograms, their voices thanking you through static. The world is quiet, sterile, dead. And yet, as you build bridges and leave ladders for other players to use, invisible connections start forming. You'll cross a river and find a sign left by someone else. You never see them, but you know they were there. You're not alone. Not really. That's the strange paradox of loneliness in games. You can be completely isolated, but still feel connected to something bigger, something unseen. Maybe that's why it hits so hard. In The Last of Us Part 2, loneliness isn't a setting, it's a wound. The world itself is overrun, cities are empty, homes are abandoned, and yet the real isolation comes from loss. When Ellie plays the guitar in silence, her fingers trembling over the strings, you can feel the loneliness. It's not about being physically alone, it's about emotional distance. It's the kind of solitude that lingers even when you're surrounded by people. That's the loneliness that lives inside you. Even older games understood this feeling. In Shadow of the Colossus, you wander across empty plains with nothing but your horse, aggro, as company. The world feels endless. Massive stone structures rise out of the fog, ancient and lifeless. Every step feels heavy. Every victory feels hollow. You're fighting colossal creatures, yes. But with everyone you kill, the world grows quieter. You begin to wonder if you're saving someone, or destroying the last fragments of life that remain. The game never tells you. It just lets you sit with that thought. It's that silence that makes loneliness in games so powerful. Most games are filled with constant feedback. Health bars, achievements, dialogue, soundtracks. Something is always happening. But when a game decides to take that away, to just stop, it forces you to feel the emptiness. The sound of nothing becomes louder than any explosion. That's why Firewatch feels so intimate. You spend your days in a national park, watching for fires from a lookout tower. You never meet anyone face to face. The only person you talk to is Delilah, a voice coming through your walkie-talkie. You joke with her, argue with her, confide in her. She's your connection to the world, the only thing between you and total silence. But when that radio goes quiet, when her voice fades and all you hear are the crickets and wind, the isolation hits you like a punch to the chest. You realize how fragile your sense of companionship really is. Even games that seem peaceful at first can feel deeply lonely. Animal Crossing looks cute and happy, bright colors, friendly neighbors, relaxing music. But when you log in at night, when the villagers are asleep and it's just you walking around under a pixelated moon, there's this unspoken melancholy. The world feels alive, but also hollow. Maybe it's because you know it only exists when you do. Maybe it's because you realize that in some way, you're the only real person there. That's the beauty of digital loneliness. It makes you reflect. It mirrors real life in unexpected ways. In a world where we're constantly connected, where every second of silence feels like an eternity, games that embrace solitude remind us that being alone isn't the same as being empty. It's just quiet. And sometimes, that quiet is exactly what we need. One of the loneliest experiences I've ever had in a game wasn't in a post-apocalyptic world or a dying kingdom. It was in No Man's Sky. I landed on a planet that was completely silent. No animals, no weather, no life. Just an endless horizon of dust. I built a small base there, planted a flag, and watched the sky turn red as the sun set. There were billions of planets in that universe, each one waiting for someone to discover it. But I knew nobody would ever come here again. It was my planet, my little corner of the infinite. And in that moment, I realized something strange. That loneliness can be peaceful, even comforting. Some games use loneliness as a punishment. Others use it as a reward. In Dark Souls, the loneliness is brutal. You walk through ancient castles filled with the corpses of long-dead warriors. The messages you find on the ground, "Try jumping," "Beware of ambush," are the only proof that others exist. Every death feels personal. Every victory feels like a scream into the void. But that's what makes it so meaningful. You may be alone, but you're part of something eternal. A cycle that connects you to every other player who's ever struggled before you. That's what loneliness in games really is. Connection through separation. It's you, sitting in the dark, holding a controller, feeling something that no one else can feel exactly the same way. And yet millions of others have. Maybe that's why we keep coming back to games that make us feel alone. Because they let us explore the parts of ourselves that the real world doesn't have space for. They let us wander, reflect, breathe. They let us exist without noise. In the end, loneliness in games isn't just a feeling. It's a mirror. It shows us who we are when everything else fades away. It reminds us that silence can be beautiful, that emptiness can be full of meaning, and that even when we're alone, we're never truly isolated. Somewhere, someone else is walking across their own endless desert, hearing the same wind, feeling the same stillness. And maybe, just for a moment, we're connected. And maybe that's what makes video games so human.